famous friends, and welcome to Fame Ready, the podcast to show you that anything is possible. Yes, including fame. I'm back at my desk, feeling very professional, feeling, like we're getting down to business. I have to say, the home renovation thing kind of wearing on me. It feels like chaos in this house, honestly. There's clothes everywhere. The fact that my clothes are so disorganized means I have no willingness to do laundry and just the whole thing. It's probably like weighing on me in more ways than I even know because this has been like I guess a couple weeks now of living in this kind of chaotic atmosphere. Oh my gosh. And then this morning, don't get me started about this morning. I like sat down. I'm like, well, you know what? The nice thing about recording this podcast from my desk is the fact that the setup is so easy. When I'm in the studio, it's like we got to get the camera angle right. I got to get the laptop set up in a very specific place. I've got to, get the lighting right. At least at the desk, there's no issues, right? There's not a lot of moving pieces. Wrong. For whatever reason, I plugged my microphone in and nothing. And this has happened before. I don't know why it happens. For some reason, on the back end of the computer, the microphone is muted. Okay. But I have no idea how to actually find that place to make the adjustment. And then I finally, after spending probably 15 minutes troubleshooting it, Googling, I finally found the button that you click to unmute the microphone. But why is it muted in the first place? I surely did not do that part. So anyways, we need an IT department. I need personally an admin assistant. I actually have a call with one after I record this. So please cross your fingers for me because your girl needs some support in her inbox. I mean, I know it's only 21 days into 2026. No complaints, honestly, about how 2026 is going because it's fun, it's exciting, lots of again moving pieces. But I need some help. And hiring is scary. you know, I it's this really interesting trade-off, right? You bring on another person to your team knowing that in the interim there's probably going to be like a little gap in the cash flow. And then once you can come to terms with that part, that hire is probably going to be the thing that makes you more money because you have more time. But it's just, I can feel this previous version of myself really getting in future Katrina's way because we've got all the fears around bringing on another person, having another bill every single month, another person to pay. But that's old Katrina who's just scared of everything. So cross your fingers for me that this person I'm chatting with today is the one because we got to get someone in here ASAP. I need someone to be the gatekeeper of my inbox. But speaking of gatekeeping, what a good segue. Today, I'm feeling really inspired to chat a little bit more about paid public relations, okay? And paid magazine features specifically. So I believe I've done an episode on paid PR probably back when this episode was under KO Your Brand. So if you scroll down episodes far enough, you'll probably find that episode. And if I'm remembering correctly, I spoke about kind of paid PR generally on that episode. Okay. I talked about paid magazine features, yes, but also paid speaking gigs, paid podcasts. And I kind of unpacked each one to let you know, this is what I agree with. This is what I don't. So today, this is just a really hot conversation among my clients, me, the outer ether, because this is where I've seen some discussion on the topic. I really want to dive into pay to play magazine features specifically, because this is not something I disagree with. And I think sometimes people expect that I would because people think that paid PR is fake or a scam. Okay. So I came across this conversation on Threads earlier this week. And honestly, I wish I would have screenshotted or saved the thread or commented on it, but it was early. Oh my God. my my voice always wants to just kind of like crap out while I do this. Okay, give me a second. Okay, are we back? Maybe I shouldn't record this before I've drank my coffee for the day. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, okay. So I came across this thread a couple days ago. I'm pretty sure it was like Monday morning. If you know me, you know I try to take a really like gentle approach to my Mondays. Okay. So I mean, each and every day, I do not allow myself to go on my phone until like at least 8 a.m. I force myself to like get ready first. I don't wake up that early, but if I do like randomly wake up early, I actually like force myself to read instead of like getting up and starting my day. Like I just really believe in taking a gentle approach to the mornings and Monday specifically. So I think I woke up on Monday, I was probably eating my breakfast, starting to get acquainted with my phone, and I came across this thread where the person that posted it was basically talking about how she hates, and I'm gonna say I didn't screenshot this, so like this is all like not verbatim. This is just like from my memory. So I'm sure I'm like messing with the words, but um it's a general sentiment that I've heard many times before. So she basically said that she is like sick and tired of people like paying to be in different publications and like making it seem like they were featured there. And she was basically implying that this was fake. It's not fake, okay? These are real articles in the publication. Yes, did someone pay for them to be there? Most times, yes. But let me tell you why that's not wrong. Okay, let me tell you why it's not wrong to invest in paid magazine features, okay? So, this is actually a practice that I use with a lot of my clients because paid PR can be used in a way that's really, really effective if you're launching a podcast, a book, an event, an offer. It really is like an extra touch point. It's no different than like hiring an influencer or running paid ads. But I think people get their backs up about it because it seems like it would be fake because you didn't sit around waiting for a journalist to like call you up. You decided to bypass that and pay to get your business featured. Investing in paid PR is no different than like hiring an influencer, running digital ads, like paid ads on like Google, Facebook, all those things. It's no different, okay? The person that's using them has just decided to like stop waiting around for a journalist to like reach out to write about them and is taking the initiative to get featured instead, okay? One thing I want to make so clear is I never encourage any of my clients to like act like they didn't pay for the feature. Okay. Um, of course, you're not going to like say, "Hey everybody, so happy I paid for this feature in Cosmopolitan." Like you're never going to say that, but like you don't have to like, and this is all in how we like deliver or share the opportunity, right? So I guess let me give you some context on what that looks like. So anytime we're using like a paid magazine feature to like help increase our authority, to drive traffic, excitement, awareness, to maybe a bigger initiative that we have going on, we are essentially doing it for the content that that gives us. Okay, so the reason why we invest in paid PR is because now we have an extra touch point to drive excitement, authority, credibility to whatever it is that we're promoting. So when that feature inevitably comes out, so let's use the example of like Cosmopolitan, just because I love that magazine, I have forever. So say you're someone who is paying for a feature in Cosmopolitan. When that comes out, to be so real, Cosmopolitan is not going to share that article on their social media feeds. Okay. So you are actually going to take that Cosmopolitan article, you're going to screenshot it, you're going to, you know, share it in your own way, and you are going to talk about why that particular article emphasizes the excitement around whatever the big thing you have going on is. Okay. So you are not going to use words like honored to be featured in Cosmopolitan. Okay. You're not going to use any language that would be misleading. Okay. you all know, like, I'm a woman of integrity. That's why I do this work. So you're not going to mislead anyone by using language like that. You're going to simply write a caption, share the article, speaking to why the big thing that you talk about in the article is so important and so impactful. And the cosmopolitan piece, that's just extra, okay? That's like a visual authority builder. You don't have to reference who wrote it. You don't have to say that you're like honored for the placement. I fucking hate when people share paid PR placements that way, by the way. Anytime someone like gets featured somewhere and just shares it, like, thanks for the feature, or like, thanks for the shout out, thanks for the mention. Like, no, that's not interesting content. And I've had this conversation with my clients before where it's like, they actually see a significant decrease in engagement when they share content like that. And I'm like, yeah, because your audience doesn't actually care if you're just like bragging about something, right? Your audience cares when you tell them why this particular piece is important to them. So, say I get a feature, say I purchase a feature in Cosmopolitan leading up to like Big Brand Energy Live, my big event in June. I'm not saying I'm so grateful to Cosmopolitan for the feature. I'm literally just saying, you guys, this is why Big Brand Energy Live is going to be the biggest, best, most energizing event for entrepreneurs of the entire season. Click here to read more about all of the exciting things that are going on. And it becomes less braggy and more just promotional, which is ultimately why you are investing in that particular press placement in the first place. Heather, please feel free to chop out any of the me scolding Dexter content. I feel like we don't really need to hear that. Okay, so that's why I had a problem with this thread, because the whole kind of point of it was like, these articles are fake. It feels like people are trying to like fool us. You're not fooling us. We know you paid for that article. We can see it says sponsored content on it. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I think, I mean, and there are people that act out of integrity every single day, but just from my perspective, we're never trying to fool anyone, right? I'm like I'm not telling my clients like, "Oh, you should pay for a PR feature because you're going to trick your audience." That's never the approach. The approach is always, "Hey, this would be an excellent additional touch point in your larger promotional campaign," in the exact same way that you might hire an influencer to, if you have a product and you hire an influencer to help push your product. For some reason, if you hire an influencer, say it's someone with like 3 million followers, for some reason people aren't saying like that's fake, but we're saying that the paid PR feature is, when both of those opportunities are working the same way. You are investing in them to have access to some sort of authority, awareness, audience, something that particular medium provides. So if you're someone who's like, I would love to like be featured in like one of those top tier publications, I don't know how I would do it, paying for it feels fake, I want you to let go of that. Okay. The other thing that this thread like explicitly talked about was when people use the logo. When you have like an as seen in banner on a website and like you add the logos, they were like, yeah, like you're just paying for like a logo to be placed on a banner. I'm like, yes, and you paid for that. So by paying for this placement, you have earned the right to be able to use that logo. And I'm going to say this, but just check the terms and conditions, because sometimes when you pay for PR placements, you're actually like not able to use it in this way. But here's the thing. It's like you have paid for the ability to kind of put that on a banner. Okay. Here's a comparable. I'm a part of my local chamber of commerce. This past year, I was nominated for an award. The only way that I could like move forward in the awards process and actually be eligible to win it is to like apply and like pay a fee. Okay. And that's what so many awards programs are these days too. You pay a fee to maybe be considered. And then when we win that award, we talk about that award like, hey, I've won this award. Thank you so much. You get to use that logo, that verbiage in your bio on your website. And so paid PR is the same thing. I honestly think people just like get their backs up about it because deep down, this might hurt. If any of you are listening to this and you're like not agreeing with me right now, I'm going to tell you why. This hurts because there is a part of you that would love to fucking be featured in a publication like that, but you don't want to pay for it. You hate seeing other people featured in top tier publications, whether they paid for it or not, because that's something that you want. Okay. Anytime we're going to hate on other people for making decisions in their business and their lives when it comes to their marketing specifically, it's because somewhere deep down, you're waiting for the day a publication actually reaches out to you to feature you. And you're pissed off that there are people that are paying their way to it faster. My opinion. I honestly I think anytime we're going to like so harshly judge someone else's decision, we're either ill-informed or jealous, literally. So that really is like, for me, why I didn't love this thread. God, I wish I would have had the ability to comment on it. It was just way too early and I had not had my coffee yet. And I'm just trying to avoid like fighting with people on the internet. Okay, like let's get that one straight too. But that really is like why I actually don't have a problem with people paying to be in a magazine, because it's a tactic. And here's the other thing, because this conversation also brings me to the fact that a lot of people talk about these types of opportunities like it's a scam. So a lot of the time, like if you're an entrepreneur who's active on social media, you will get a lot of like DMs, you might even get emails like offering you features in different places. One of the DMs, because I've been talking a lot about this on Instagram this week. So one of the DMs that I got was from someone who was like, yeah, like totally hear you, but like there are some publications that like are a scam. And I'm like, yeah, the ones that are a scam are simply the ones that you pay and you never receive the deliverables for. And actually, right before I started recording, I had another DM from someone who was like, this literally happened to me. I paid for a feature, I paid the guy everything, and then the publication and him just vanished. Yeah. So I'm going to just give you a couple tips on like, okay, how do you kind of mitigate this part? So always sign a contract. Okay. So whoever you're working with on this paid PR feature, if it's an agency that's pitching you, if, I work with a very, very reputable agency who I trust and is like phenomenal when it comes to this stuff. Essentially, I'll just like give them a little bit of a plug. If you're interested in paid PR placements, this is something that I can help you with. If you become a client of mine, I will never do it like as a standalone. It's got to be part of a strategy. So if you join one of my programs, if you become a one-on-one client, then this is something that we can talk about. But essentially, when I work with this particular agency on behalf of my clients, we actually don't pay until the article is live on the website. So my contact doesn't make me pay. I don't charge my clients. We do all of the upfront work. And then when we get it on the website, we can see it. There's a live link. That's when we ask for payment. So it really just like makes it easier. And like it builds a little bit more trust. So for some of these other like agencies or like randos that are pitching you online, because I've done this before. Like the very first paid PR placement I ever did was like the top brand experts to follow. I did it really, really early on in my business, and it was on MSN.com. Have amazing results that I'm going to share in this Fame to Fortune challenge that I'm running next week. The link is in the show notes if you want to join us. It's not too late. Okay, so when I was investing in this particular PR placement, there were a couple of things that I made sure of. A, sign a contract, okay? And then B, pay with your credit card. Because if you pay with your credit card and this person doesn't deliver, you can just dispute the charge, okay? So I know like that's not a fun process to go through, but I'm if we're like talking about safeguarding and you are like gonna take a risk and make an investment, like this is how we kind of safeguard ourselves, right? Like, make sure you sign that contract and it's all good. And then also like make sure that you pay with a credit card so you can dispute that charge if you actually never receive the deliverables. But I mean, at the same time, like always just make sure you're going through like a reputable agency. So this is why I make that really easy for people that work with me in particular. So it's not a scam. Okay. I mean, hey, back when I was like really early on in my business, I dumped between, I can't remember the exact number, it was somewhere between ten to $20,000 in Facebook ads. Okay. Ugh, I really wish I didn't. I wish someone had told me it's too early, you're not ready, you don't have like proper offers in place, because I didn't have all of those things. So I really like I spent so much money and saw zero ROI. Okay. But I don't walk around saying that Facebook ads are a scam. I know that they work for businesses. I just know that they didn't work for the point that I was at in my business. And the same goes for paying to be in a magazine. A lot of times people pay to be in a magazine thinking like you're paying for a big moment. Okay. But that magazine feature is never meant to be like a moment on its own. The magazine feature is meant to be a promotional touch point, like I was talking about earlier. So, whenever a client comes to me, or if you're listening to this and now you're like, ooh, what publication could I get Katrina to help me get a feature in? The reason why I only do this for clients who I'm actually like working with is because I need to know, is this going to be a waste of your money? Yes or no? And if it is, I won't do it. I will not help you coordinate a PR opportunity if I just think it's misplaced, if I think it's a waste of money, if I think it's not going to do anything for you. Really, really great example of this is one of my clients a couple months ago won an award, and she messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you think this is worth pitching to like local media? What do you think?" And I was like, "Definitely not worth like pitching to local media, but if you really wanted to like emphasize this particular award and use it as an authority building moment for an event that you're hosting in, at this point the event was probably still like 4 or 5 months away, then I would suggest paying for a feature in a larger publication that shares the story about this award, and then it kind of plugs the event, relates back to the event. So then it feels like a really nice storytelling moment between these two things. And why I suggested that is because the stature of the award that she won was more like national. So then like pitching it locally, I'm like, is that the best use of time? No. And this is someone who has great brand awareness for her personal brand, and because this particular um like award was more national, I was like, "Hey, I think if you're going to like invest any time or money or effort into getting this in the media, I would do it in a publication that actually has a little bit of weight to it." So you can see how I advised her on where to actually like invest the money and the time, and it's all strategy. It really is. For someone like her too, like I'm always evaluating like, okay, what is the step up for this particular personal brand? So, someone like me, I'm like, the next step up is a feature and probably a publication like Elle Canada or the Globe and Mail, something more national. Okay. A local publication, even like you can kind of pay for different features in like local business journals. For me, not really of interest at this point. I want to go bigger than that. And so that's how and that's not to knock those things, by the way, because I do have a client who, is investing in a certain like kind of local business feature initiative, makes so much sense for where she's at in her business. So it's all strategy. It's all strategy, and it's all knowing exactly like where you are at, how your audience perceives you, and what is actually going to help your audience take the next step into whatever thing that you're promoting. This is why we don't just buy magazine features in isolation, because I think sometimes we get excited about the potential of like, oh, I'm going to invest in this particular feature. It's going to feel really good. it feeds our ego. We get to see our name in a headline. We get that fancy logo, but it doesn't end up having like a monetary return for our business because we actually didn't use it properly. We used it for our ego. We didn't use it for our bottom line. And this is actually why when I run the Fame to Fortune challenge next week, I'm going to spend quite a bit of time. Actually, one whole day is dedicated to how do you actually use magazine features, paid PR, that sort of thing to actually bring in revenue for your business. Because anytime I've paid for a PR feature, I've seen at least a baseline ROI of 3x. Okay. So that means anytime I've invested into a paid PR opportunity, the return has been 3 times my investment. And that's because I know exactly what it looks like to actually use PR like this to motivate an audience. And the fact that I'm even able to track that is much more than like someone who doesn't have that knowledge. And that is actually why it's so important to link the feature to other pieces of your business, right? Because that is how you're going to see it move the needle. So excited to dive into this in the challenge next week because honestly, like I have so many good case studies and then you know what? I might actually like help as I talk this out loud, like, because I know one of the women that joined the challenge, she's actually just purchased a magazine feature. And she sent me a note and said, oh my gosh, this came up at the perfect time because I just bought this magazine feature and I was wondering how to monetize it. So I think my action item for that day of the challenge is, hey, where do you see yourself maybe wanting to be published? How can we make that happen? And also, how do we tie it into to a larger launch? So I know some of the women inside the challenge have like books or major speaking gigs. So there's a way to really generate hype using these paid PR features when you have that like larger anchor. So that's what we're going to talk about in the Fame to Fortune challenge. All of those details are in the show notes. So yeah, God, I actually love paid PR. I think it's such a great strategy when you know how to use it properly. Like I said, it's not meant you're not using it to like trick people or to fake people. When any time someone has personally asked me like, "Hey, how did you get on a billboard in Times Square? How did you get this?" I have no shame in saying I paid for it because it's a marketing investment like anything else. And I think like I'm all for the people who want to wait until a journalist one day approaches them. But here's the other thing to remember: you having this larger than life personal brand, which is going to just attract more speaking opportunities, more events, more engagement and interest. I'm willing to bet that if you start investing in paid PR right now, it's going to really shorten that time between you and when a journalist inevitably does reach out to write about you. You know, it's okay to do a balance of both. I think sometimes we always just want to be like martyrs and like, we got to do things the right way. And I'm like, the rest of the world isn't. So if we like really just sit around waiting for the day that maybe we end up in a magazine, there are much easier ways to make that happen sooner. And I think like the other important thing to remember is when you are paying for a feature in a magazine, you're actually not paying for that audience. Okay. I know this is like a misconception. So I think sometimes we think, oh, if I pay for a feature in Cosmopolitan, now I get to reach their entire audience and, you know, it's going to bring in lots of sales for my business. And that really is like the biggest misconception that I see because that's just not how paid PR is used anymore. I mean, how many of you go to like cosmopolitan.com and read all of the articles that are posted every day? How many of you do that for like any publication? I'll go on, I'll wait. Right. Literally none of you. And that's okay. But that alone should show you, okay, this is why paid PR has a different function. The function is building authority. It's a promotional touch point. It's not to expand your audience. It's to activate the audience you already have. Okay. So like I said, if you're interested in learning more about this, the Fame to Fortune challenge, we start next week. it's for you. I really think you're going to benefit so much. If you love this podcast, if you loved this conversation, because I think this is a conversation that most PR people actually aren't willing to have. So if you loved it, please let me know by giving this podcast a 5-star rating. Please leave me a review. Please follow me over at Katrina Owens PR. You can follow the podcast at Get Fame Ready. Link to the challenges in the show notes. And yeah, I think that just about covers it. So sorry to cut this short, you guys. I got to go head on to my interview with my potential executive assistant. And so cross your fingers for me. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, I have a new team member. Okay. I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Toodles.